How to make a router more dangerous. It's a bit of a clickbait title. Apologies for that, but it is kind of true about what I'm about to do. A lot of people are afraid of router tables, and for good reason. They are a little bit bitey. Now I have my Triton router MOF001, and you can go watch the video of me making my router table, which I've used a fair bit. But I want to do something else. A router table, the router's mounted like that, with the bit obviously here. But there is another type of router table where the router is mounted like that, and there's a pin underneath, and it's called a pin router, not surprisingly. And it's used for profiling the tops of guitars, for instance. So if I ever make an archtop guitar, and there's a fair chance I will, but that'll be for perhaps another year, I don't know, we'll see. Then I will probably need a pin router. So there is that project in the future. But there are a few other projects I want to do that involve having the router suspended and having the work pass underneath it, or have the router pass over the top of the work. And for that, I need a way of attaching this router to other things. Now, the only means of attaching it are these the screws in the base plate, and I don't want to have to attach it on top of something because I will lose depth underneath the router, unless I use a piece of steel or something that I can keep fairly thin, but I tend to do most of my projects in wood. So I want to make a harness that fits around the router, that I can then attach stuff to the harness, and so the underside of the router is free and the work can pass underneath it, and I can get the full length of the router cutter underneath. Now some people will at this point be probably saying, you need a laminate trimmer. Little routers, little barrel shaped routers that can easily fit into things. Some CNC machines are made so that they will accept a third-party laminate trimmer in them. They just clamp into the router. I've got limited funds. This is my router. I don't want to have to go out and buy another one. There is a very nice Bosch laminate trimmer I've seen, which you can get for about £90. It might be a bit more. I don't want to have to go out and spend that money. I want to do this for free. So I am going to create a harness that fits around the router, a wooden harness that I can then attach stuff to. I can have it mounted to the sides of things and whatever. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's go do it. I've got to create a collar for this, and I need a piece at the top and then a piece that will bolt to the bottom of the router with the standard bolts. And unfortunately, to be able to keep the basic function of the router, I'm going to have to put the collar around this top piece, which isn't ideal, but I think it'll work. This seems to be very solid. So the collar will go here. So I've got to cut that out of a couple of pieces of ply, and obviously I'll profile the other side as well. I've got to make a few cuts with the handsaw, my Japanese pull saw, because the bandsaw isn't wide enough to do this. So I'm going to use threaded inserts for the top, but before I screw the threaded insert in, I am going to apply a clamp so that I don't split the plywood as I'm driving it in. I'm tempted to soak it in super glue as well, but whether or not I can get it in before the super glue dries, I don't know. It might be easier to just hammer this in the first little bit, but we'll see. Is it going to bite? This is an M6 threaded insert, it's an 8mm hole. I think there has been a bit of pressure on the plywood. I'm just going to soak that area in super glue before I remove the clamp. And the super glue's just gone on the clamp. This could be interesting. And same again for the other one. Annoyingly, the bolts that I bought as a replacement for the standard ones, which are too short, the heads are just a fraction too big. So I'm going to reduce them by filing. Rather than trying to file away at the base plate, I'm going to leave the base plate alone and file the head of the bolt. That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. 64 strokes and I'm done. Yes, I was counting. 1/8 rotations, 8 strokes. Geek! I'm just going to make room for the cable. This isn't meant to support the thing, it's just meant to steady it, but that's an incredibly good fit. And is that still usable? I think I'm going to have to widen this hole a little bit. I didn't really want it pressing on that at all. But we're pretty much there. This doesn't move. Perfect. One set of uprights. Whoever it was suggested I got this type of countersink bit. Thank you. I can now do nice round countersinks. I hadn't intended it this way, but it appears that this will just slide straight over the top, providing I thread the lead through. Okay, I have basically no idea how I managed to get this off without unbolting it. Let's try that the way I'd originally intended it. Even this is trickier than I thought it was going to be because of the bolt down here. Right, place that on there, push the bolt through. As you can see, this is simplicity itself to mount. Why can't I locate the bolt? It goes on incredibly easily and within a few seconds you're up and running. As I drop the bolt on the floor. Oh, that was the wing nut. Actually, before I tighten that, I probably will do up the wing nuts. Get the wing nut off the floor. And then tighten this up and we're done. And for some reason that's being a bit resistive. As you can see, this goes on very, very quickly and is very, very simple to use. I wonder if I've got this cross-threaded. There we go. And there we have one very solid harness onto which I can screw all sorts of things in order to mount my router at a height. Now, on its own, this is fairly useless. The whole point of this is I can now mount a series of things on it in order to control the router in new and creative ways. I will attach something to the side to support it and be able to raise it up and down. I will attach something else to the side to allow it to slide along a track. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a bracket to the top, a temporary bracket that you can dismount, because I want to attach a windsurfing mast to the top of the router. And I'm not going to explain why. That can be in the next video, and you can maybe comment in the comments section. Where else would you comment? But anyway, comment as to why you think I want to attach a windsurfing mast to the top. I've got my brackets and I've got it spaced with a few pieces of plywood, because it just happens that 3 thicknesses of plywood is about the width of the mast. And we'll just get that centered up and then mark where we want it. And I think I will put 2 bolts on the bottom of this. see you in the next video.